Hey, what's up, friends? Sean from Draft Therapy here, and we are live. As the name would imply, the title of this live stream, I'm going to be talking about some Michigan Oktoberfest beers. I've got about a dozen different beers, all Oktoberfest, all Michigan Oktoberfest beers. The only ground rules are, I don't know what the correct terminology would be, but the ground rules are I'm not going to drink all 12 to 16 ounces of each one of these beers because I want to survive until tomorrow. So, with that being said, I'm going to break out some of these beers. I've got them all kind of sitting next to me here. And let's see what we pull out of the old box here. So I've got One Well Oktoberfest, Pigeon Hill Oktoberfest, Brew Detroit Corktoberfest, Drafting Table, Best Beer, Drafting Table Oktoberfest, Bell's Oktoberfest. These are probably all going to be bounced around. Griffin Claw Oktoberfest. Are you sensing a theme here? Brewery Vivant Coqtoberfest. Got Oddside Oddtoberfest. Sheesh. Wolverine Brewing Company Oktoberfest. Ugh, geez, getting old. Founders Oktoberfest. And Old Nation Oktoberfest. So, if you're not familiar with what Oktoberfest is, the Oktoberfest beer, is generally a Marzen style lager. They're lagers, so they're usually a little bit darker in color. They're more of like a caramel kind of color. Oktoberfest is a festival that's celebrated in Germany, in Munich, I believe. And I could be totally wrong. I didn't do any ahead of time research, which I should have done. So now that you see the lineup here, you can see that there's no possible way that I could be possibly getting through all these beers. That would be practically, I don't know, probably suicide at some, in some respect or the other. But so what I'm going to do is I am going to do on these live streams where I go through a bunch of different beer. I don't think I've ever gone through this many beers in one kind of sitting. But what I'm going to do is I've got 12 glasses here on the side. I'm going to just pour. I'm going to compare, contrast, going to talk about each one individually. I'm kind of gonna go through a little bit of a ranking. So I'm gonna say, this is the one that I like the best at the end of this whole thing. And I'm gonna try and make this fit in an hour. So I'm gonna start with the One Well Oktoberfest. I'm just gonna set these back in my cooler so that I can kind of individually look at each one of these and not get too nutty. I've got a cooler bag down here, so they're going to go down in here. And I'm just going to start pulling them out in no particular order because I don't really, there's no organization. They're just kind of on a cold pack in this bag. Might be able to hear them bouncing around. But I'm going to start with One Well, and I'm going to move to Bell's. I'm going to leave the Bell's one out because it's the only bottle. But like I said, ground rules. Not going to be pouring the full beer into the glass. I'm not going to be drinking the full beer of any of these because I want to live to see tomorrow. So I got to find, all right, this is the reason I'm keeping the Bell's one out because I'm not going to be able to find this bottle opener with all these bottles and whatnot. So I got a couple fancy tricks up my sleeve here. So if you've watched my videos before, you notice, when I pour a beer, I'll talk about it, I'll smell it. I will do two angles. Well, I'm able to do two angles today on this video. So that's going to be rather exciting for me, and hopefully things don't explode and blow up. If you're out there, hit me up on the chat. Before I get started up, I'm going to ask you guys, if you're out there, what you drinking? What are you drinking tonight? You drinking anything right now while you're watching this? Are you drinking an Oktoberfest? Are you drinking a I don't know, something else, a stout maybe? A IPA, a lager of some sort? So we're going to start with Bell's Oktoberfest beer. This is a Marzen. Let's read the back of this label. It says, fall is my favorite. Well, that's kind of presumptuous. Fall is my favorite time to drink beer. The weather turns cooler, there's a bounty of foods, and beer just seems to taste better. I hope you enjoy this traditional beer as much as I do. Larry Bell. All right, and this one was packaged on August 2nd. This is 5.5% alcohol by volume. One thing that, you'll notice, Oktoberfest, you think October, but these beers start coming out as early as August now. They seem like they come out, it's like Christmas, right? You start seeing the decorations for Christmas like right after Halloween, and it seems like it's just earlier and earlier. Back to school stuff comes out. This has a leaf cap. See that? So that's the difference. Some of these Bell's beers have, they have like different bottle caps. This one has a leaf. And set that to the side. And now I can get rid of this bottle opener because it ain't going to be getting used for the rest of the night. So I'm going to go ahead and put a nose on this. They're all going to smell very similar. This smells very much like a, very much, this is going to be too difficult for me to pay attention to all this. This very much smells sweet, smells like a Pilsner, smells like something, expect a lager to smell like. So let's just hit the chat up real quick so that you guys know that I know you're there. I'm trying something different out here, so, all right, wow, look at that, it actually worked. This whole thing is held together by duct tape and bubble gum. So we got Carrie Bagman 2001, aka I'm so frazzled right now. David, one of my patrons, and he says he's drinking something strange IPA. And we got Derek Rathel. Sorry, Derek. He's drinking a homebrew he made with his buddy Will. Coffee vanilla stout. Stout, coffee vanilla stout. All right, so I just got to get something. I got to wet my whistle here. So let's go ahead and pour this. I'm telling you, this is going to be, I'm adding all these elements here, and it is going to be, I'm already sweating. It's going to be hard to keep track of all this stuff. So this is Bell's Oktoberfest. Wow. Crashing and burning here, folks. As you can see, that is, leave it down there. You can see that is super clear. Nice and golden. Lots of nice carbonation coming up. I probably even poured more than I was going to pour on this. More than I thought I was going to pour. Put a better nose on the glass here. I'll start settling down, I promise. All right. Has a nice sweet, lagery smell. Marzens kind of have that really strong caramel kind of flavor and aroma. Go ahead and try it out. Cheers. It's got a really nice, smooth, very reminiscent of a lager. I mean, obviously it's a lager, it's a Marzen, they're lagers, but it has a really nice kind of comforting flavor. It's not anything too, strong. It has a bit of that caramel kind of flavor, that nice malty caramel flavor, but it also has a little bit of like almost like an oakiness to it. It tastes like you would expect fall to kind of taste like if you're not thinking of like an IPA, if you're not thinking of a stout or a porter, if you're just going like that whole kind of lager vibe, it really has a nice fall kind of flavor to it. I don't even know where I'm going to put all these cans and bottles and whatnots, but we're going to set this first Bell's one up over here in the front. Hopefully I don't spill it on my laptop. We're going to move on to the next one. This is One Well Oktoberfest. See from the overhead here, the disc, so you can see it a little bit better. This is One Well out of Kalamazoo. High fives over handshakes. Oktoberfest with a K. It has the ram on it. He's holding a nice glass of beer. It's a lager. You turn it to the side. I don't know how close you're going to be able to see that, but it says, you're not going to be able to see it at all. Bigfoot tested, Wizard approved. This is 6%. This is out of One Well out of Kalamazoo. Like I mentioned before, I've been going to Wax Wings quite a bit in Kalamazoo. About an hour and a half drive for me. Hit them up, and then I'll hit One Well. They've been like the two must stops, basically, that I've been going to for the last couple times that I've been going out there. And yeah, I mean, I really enjoy their beer. They do a lot of really good styles. They do a whole bunch of different stuff, like any kind of style you can think of, they have some kind of obvious, you know, version on it. So let's go ahead and crack this. Is there a canned on date? There is none. Okay, good thing I checked before I pop the top, right? Put a nose on it. It's got a little bit more of a kind of corny aroma, actually, than this Bell's Oktoberfest did. Let's do the split. I'm gonna go ahead and pour this. Again, mentioned a few times, I'm not gonna drink these full beers, because even at 6%, 5%, you know, between 4.5%, 5%, I want to be able to survive the night. So if we hold this up, it's actually a lot murkier, a lot hazier. It's got a nice amount of carbonation. The head kind of just hung around for a minute, and it's really kind of dissipating. But I just want to show you the difference, and I think you can tell the difference from the camera. This is the Bell's Oktoberfest, really clear, very filtered, and the One Well Oktoberfest, as you can see, is like much more of that kind of, you know, unfiltered, hazy style Marzen. These are both, well, this just says it's a lager. I was assuming it's a Marzen, but this is, I'm going to say it's probably a Marzen. But yeah, it actually smells a little bit like where I got a lot of caramel notes out of the Bell's. And I said it tasted like fall to me, basically, right? It's like a lager, but it had that fall kind of flavor to it. And this one has a little bit more of a, almost like a green aroma. It's a lot lighter. It smells almost kind of too fresh. You know, it kind of has that aroma to it. But we're going to try it out. Cheers. This one has a really light mouthfeel, but it's much more in kind of the lager family than I would expect, or not that I would expect, but it has like a really crisp, lighter, lagery flavor. It doesn't have so much of those caramel notes. It's actually quite a bit sweeter than the Bell's. It's hard to say if I prefer it being sweeter like that. Again, I'm going to run out of room here. Run out of room really quick. All different beers. Going back to what you're drinking, you got Sarah Aiden in the chat, drinking a Dunkel. Carlos Pena, unnamed lager. I don't know if that's actually an unnamed lager. Carlos, let me know. Ian, is it actually called unnamed lager? Because that'd be kind of. But yeah, sweeter. Definitely sweeter than the Bell's. So let's go ahead and gonna reach back in my bag of tricks here. All right, this is Oddside Oddtoberfest. This is one that I don't even know if I had heard of prior to seeing this on the shelf. This has really has a fall reminiscent kind of label, right? You got the two beer mugs kind of hitting together here. You got Oddtoberfest. This is a Marzen beer. This was canned on August 17th. So far, of the ones that have any kind of dating on it, this is the oldest one. Only had one other one that had a date. That was the Bell's. It was August 2nd. If you look on the back, we got Oddtoberfest, deep gold copper color full-bodied lager with rich malty flavor and notes of caramel. 5.6% alcohol by volume. So this is now the third beer that I'm trying. But the second, I don't even know where I was going. I looked at the chat. We got Randy here. He is upset that he didn't get an invite to drink this beer. Randy, if you want to stop by, I'm not going to drink all these. I mean, I'm going to drink some of each of them. I'm not going to drink all of them. So I've got another glass here. Yeah, okay, so this is 5.6%. Sorry, I lost track. Lost my train of thought there. Octoberfest from One Well was 6%. We got Bell's 5.5%. Whoa, geez. So 5.6% on this Oddtoberfest. I'm getting better at doing my switching all my stuff here. We're going to go split screen. We're going to go ahead and pour this one. This is more like the Bell's, a lot darker in color. This is almost like, okay, it's coming out. It's clearer, more filtered, as you can see. Probably got the nicest head out of all these so far. This is about a finger of head. Yeah, it's off-white. It's kind of got that kind of light, like a light brown, tannish. Okay, so I'm 3 in now, right? I think so far, the Bell's is my favorite between the two that I've had. I think the Oktoberfest, the one well, was just kind of a little bit too light. Like it didn't really strike the right kind of chord for me. This one, the aroma is really very muted. Not getting a whole lot of aroma on it, but it has a little bit more of that kind of lagery flavor or aroma. You're gonna hear lager aroma. Like that's probably what I'm gonna describe all of these as being, unless there's something that totally jumps out at me. Like splitting hairs at this point, right? So try it out. Cheers. Really interesting. It has like a sweeter kind of bubblegum flavor that comes up after the initial swallow, like the aftertaste that comes up has a little bit of a sweeter kind of characteristic to it. It's a really interesting kind of vibe. Like you get the caramel a little bit, but it's like that kind of sweeter bubblegum kind of flavor comes up after that, and it has a little bit more of a it's just got a really like different kind of flavor. I gotta figure out how I'm gonna do this. I'm not gonna be able to reach through everything. So I think this is the Bell's. This is the Oddside Oktoberfest. The color, the Oktoberfest is a little bit darker. It's a little bit more of that kind of brown, a little bit more of that kind of copper, whereas this Bell's is a little bit more of a golden. Again, yeah, you can definitely tell. You can see that you can see my hand through these, but this one, like my fingers right behind it, you're kind of just able to see maybe a little bit of a, like, you know, not so much of a shadow, but like just really light detail. It's not, it just, you know, it doesn't look like the others. Bell's, one well, Oddside. Yeah, I'm still going to stick with the Bell's. I think the Bell's right now is like my favorite out of the 3. And then I think the one well is probably on the lower end, probably number 3 at this point. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's just, again, it's not really like the vibe that I would be going for. Carlos let us know. His unnamed lager is just a macro. Nothing to write home about. And Sarah's letting us know she is now drinking a Founders Oktoberfest. And you know what? That sounds like a great suggestion. I'm going to move on to my Oktoberfest. The Founders one. Because I have a bunch. So, it's clear. Title of this live stream. I'm going to just line it up in the front order that I've drank. Doesn't get too much in the way. Let's take a look at the label here. This is the Founders Oktoberfest German style Marzen. You can check them out at foundersbrewing.com. Well, you can see that. But yeah, this one has a nice little pretzel on here. It's got some, you know, real reminiscent of a Bavarian style village. This is 6%. This is going to be a tie for the highest ABV so far. And that's the great thing about the Marzen style, right? These Oktoberfests, they're not made for you to really drink and, you know, just get blitzed on. They're made for you to be able to drink all day. So they're lower ABV. You're going to be, you know, if you're celebrating actual Oktoberfest, you're going to be eating some pretzels, maybe munching on some sausage or something. This one is the earliest canned. I don't know if you can see that, and I bet if I raise it up, it's going to be even harder to see. This was canned on July 27th. Yeah, so this is just, you know, crack it, pour it, love it. Founders tells us to do. Grab another glass. I think I'm going to do just that. I'm going to crack it. I'm going to smell it. See if we love it. All right. little bit more of a breadiness on the nose. It has definite, just out of the can, a little bit more of that bready quality. Go ahead and pour it. Oh. This is a little bit lighter, more of a golden than what we've seen on the last couple, right? Because they were more of that kind of darker tannish, not tan, talk about darker caramel color, you know, darker kind of golden caramel. This has probably poured the most aggressive on this, getting about a finger and a half, 2 fingers ahead. Really clear. Again, we're kind of going back to the one well is the one that really stands out color-wise, right, or appearance-wise, because it's the one that's been kind of that hazy. I keep kind of coming back to it, but and this one also just says it's a lager. While it's called an Oktoberfest, they do say on the label. Sarah, you're going to have to keep me honest on this. All right, let's try it out. Really smooth. Probably the most subtle, smoothest out of all 4 of these so far. It just kind of has, it goes down really easily. I mean, it's 6%. Again, not super high, not anything that's put you under after having 1 or 2. They sell these in 6-packs and 12-packs, I believe. So, you know, I wouldn't advise drinking 12, but depending on your tolerance, you might be able to get away with it. I probably wouldn't be able to get away with it. But really smooth, has a really nice subtle quality throughout, right? It's not like in your face, any kind of real in your face flavor, but it's really smooth, really easy drinking, really like a relaxed, hey, just drink this beer and enjoy it kind of, you know, vibe going on with it. It's nothing too crazy. I think I would still, this is like really encroaching. It's on number 1. I wouldn't say this is number 1 yet. I would say still that the Bell's Oktoberfest, and even in years past, I haven't been super crazy about Bell's Oktoberfest, so I don't want it to seem like I'm just going with the favorite, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, Bell's, they can't do anything wrong. I think the last time I did one of these, I don't think Bell's came out on top. But yeah, it's just really smooth, really easy drinking, really light. It's not, at 6%, it probably tastes the lightest out of all these. It's the second, you know, I had the one well was 6% as well. But it's just a really light flavor. It's not offensive in any way. It doesn't like, you know, it doesn't blow out your tongue, your taste buds. You don't feel like you're just gonna lose it on here. Where I'm running out of room here. We're gonna go back to I'm gonna take a break, but not a break from getting away and moving on. Again, I want to know what you're drinking. So let us know. Drinking a lager? Have you moved on to your second beer? Are you drinking a stout, a porter, a barrel aged, a tequila barrel aged goza, maybe a wine barrel aged milkshake IPA, or something just fully delicious sounding? Sarcasm, folks. Okay, we're gonna move on to. This is Wolverine Brewing Company out of Ann Arbor, straight out of Ann Arbor. This is Wolverine Brewing Company. This is Oktoberfest. They say it's a limited release lager. And yeah, so we can check it out here. This is brewed and bottled by Wolverine State Brewing Company on West Stadium in Ann Arbor. You can check them out at Wolverine Beer. If you are unfamiliar with Wolverine, they are a exclusive lager brewery. They don't do ales. They don't do IPAs. They don't do stouts. They don't do all that fun stuff. Well, I guess it depends on who you ask. They only do lagers. So I'm going to hope that this is a kick-ass kind of lager here. This is 6.2% alcohol by volume, so this would be the highest of any of the lagers that we've looked at so far. Commerce Ozzy lets us know he's drinking a Founders Underground Mountain Brown, and his favorite Oktoberfest is Great Lakes Brewing Company's Oktoberfest. And Great Lakes, You'd think they'd be in Michigan, but they're from Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio, I believe. You're wrong. First time. Wrong. So this, there's no canned on date on here that I can see. But yeah, so we're gonna, it has the Wolverine on here. Got a pretzel hanging on to a stein and a pretzel here. Not actually. Somebody let me know what that is actually called. I don't know. Might be a stein. Let's put it. Whoa, that looked kind of dark. Kind of looks a little darker, but for it, we'll be able to tell for sure. This definitely has a little bit of a kind of a darker caramel aroma for it. That is, yeah, okay. I would say color, well, I don't know. Color-wise, I was going to say it's the darkest, but I'm thinking the Oddside Oktoberfest might be a shade darker. We're getting about a finger, maybe a finger and a half worth of head. I didn't do the split screen, did I? But let's check out the head here. A little bit off-white. It's like a little bit of a darker, almost a brown, I'd say. Pretty, a nice shade. That's pretty dark, though. That's like almost a, it looks to you guys almost like a reddish. To me, it's very dark. Like I said, the Oddside Oktoberfest was hard, right? Because I'm not giving you guys, you're just seeing it through, and I have a red shirt on. I got this little handy, whoa, I got this handy portable little light here. Let's hope this doesn't blow everything out. So this is the Wolverine. This is the Oddside Oktoberfest. It is, the Wolverine is a bit darker. Like, doing, go. I'd say it's a little bit, I don't know. I can't, I'm like watching, I'm looking at too many things. Whatever happened to being, doing the easy thing. Okay, so that's Oddside. I can, like at this point, I can look at these and not know what order I put them in and almost be able to tell you which one's which. Now it's time to actually taste it. Like I said, it has a little bit of a, it almost like, I know you can't smell darker, but it almost feels like it has a bit of a deeper aroma. Let's try it. Cheers. As you would expect, all these are very crisp, very, refreshing, has a really nice refreshing mouthfeel. This one has a bit more of a deeper caramel flavor. It has a little bit more of a, there's a little bit more of like a bready quality. Like I said, I think the Bell's one kind of almost like tastes like fall to me. Bell's. That's the only one I could have so far that was like, oh yeah, this tastes like, what I would expect to be drinking in the fall. It's a little bit richer. It has a little bit more of like a richer kind of flavor to it. A little bit more of a more caramel kind of flavor. I think this one's a little bit maltier. It almost has a bit of like, I know it's 6.2%, and again, 6.2% these days in beer is like not really much at all. But it has almost like almost has a bit of like this alcohol kind of bite to it. It's not anything like, in your face or profound, but it's like really deep in there. But it's really got, really nice, deep kind of malty characteristics to it. It has that caramel, but it also has a little bit more of that kind of, richer, not richer, but darker, just more malty. It's, how else to say it? It's fuller flavored, fuller bodied. I think this one, I think this is going to have to be a tie for one so far. So I'll have to come back to this one. I'm going to put it in front of the Bells. So that's Wolverine. That's this one. I can't sip it too much. But that's the Wolverine Oktoberfest. Right now, tied for one. Bells. Right, let's move on to the next. I kind of want to save the Old Nation one because I know that it's going to be really good, or at least I'm hoping it's going to be really good, and I have a feeling it might be the one that kind of pushes my palate the most, because I know that Old Nation does a lot of really good lagers. They do any kind of style lager. They seem to do a really great job with it with them. I'm going to pull up one of the drafting tables. So I have two different drafting tables. It's the only one I have two of, two from the same brewery. I have a Fest beer, excuse me, and an Oktoberfest. So let's pull out, it's a good time to pull out the Oktoberfest. So this is a Marzen. Look at this again, or not again, but let's look at the overhead again. We have drafting table, Wixom, Michigan, drafting table brewing company, Oktoberfest Marzen. Got a really cool kind of watercolor looking label here. You can find out more about them. You can find out more about them at their address, which is right here, 49438 Pontiac Trail in Wixom, Michigan. Draft on. Turn it a little bit more. You can check them out at draftingtablebeer.com. This is something I talk about a lot when I talk about labels. I know, I'm a big, I don't know, not a big, but I'm kind of, I like label design. I think it can be really intriguing. And what I really like about what Drafting Table does on all of their beers is they show this bitterness scale. So it has the 5 hop cones, and it kind of lets you know like how bitter you're going to be in for. Just look, before you drink too much of it. This is now going to be the highest ABV. This is 6.5% alcohol by volume. It tells you the kind of glass to drink it out of. This traditional German lager has a perfect balance of rich, malty flavor and drinkability. Drinkability is always a good thing. I mean, I prefer beers that you can't drink, but there is kidding. There's no canned on date here. Crack this. Put a nose on it. This has a really kind of malty aroma to it too. So let's go ahead and do our split screen, our pour. It kind of looks like it's going to be darker than it is. Again, another clear one. We are through what? This is a 6th one, so we're halfway through. Do I really have 6 left? We're halfway through at this point. This is the one well lager is the only one so far that has been kind of hazy. To be fair, it says it's Oktoberfest, but it calls itself a lager. It doesn't say it's a Marzen. The rest of these are. Hold it up. Shading a bit, I want to say it looks a little bit like the Founders. A little bit darker than the Founders, so probably closer to the Bells. No, the Bells is actually a little bit darker. Right. Regardless. I kind of lose that maltiness out of the glass. Out of the can, it really had a strong kind of malty aroma, but out of the glass, just not so much. Let's go ahead and try it out. Cheers. Nice and malty, a little bit bready. It's got a good caramel flavor to it, as we're expecting from all of these. What does it say here? Malty, yeah, definitely rich and malty. 6.5%, that Wolverine, which I'm calling in my top, definitely contender for #1 at this point. It had that little bit of a boozy kind of bite to it. This one is actually higher ABV. It's the highest so far at 6.5%, 6.5%. And it actually has less of that boozy kind of flavor. So I actually kind of feel it's a little bit more drinkable than the Wolverine one that kind of had that alcohol kind of bite to it, adds a little bit of a harshness to it. So that's kind of, I'm just walking you through my thought process. Man, it's tough when you're drinking all these beers that are almost like, by style, they're going to be they should be really close to each other. I'm not going to say identical, but they should be really close to each other. Now I feel like the Bells is still #1, and this Drafting Table is tied for #1. That pushes down the Wolverine, which pushes down the Founders, which pushes down the Oddside, which of course pushes the One Well. I think if the Wolverine didn't have that little bit of a bitter kick to the end, and you might like that, obviously this is super, subjective. I believe that's the right usage of that word. In my opinion, the way that I'm kind of seeing it, it just kind of pushes down. But if you like that kind of thing, obviously, but yeah, it's just, I like that. That's got a good kind of, I'm going to double a little extra pour on that one. I do really think though that, I got a mat over here. I got some space. I think that that one really does rival the Bell's. Another lighter, more caramel. At this point, as it's warming up, it almost has a bit of a coffee kind of note to it. Yeah, this drafting table at this point, maybe because it's cooler, a little bit colder, it's been on ice a little bit more. It has a little bit more of that, it's a little bit sweeter. It has a little bit less of that toffee kind of flavor, a little bit more of a sweeter kind of caramel. The drafting table. So I'm just going to say that they're still kind of equal at this point, but I still think that Bell's has a little bit of an edge. So next, I'm going to move on to, we're going to go back to the west side of the state. My last 12-ounce can. This is Pigeon Brewing Company out of Muskegon, Michigan. Let's take a look at the label. And we're still doing good. We got the Muskegon's own Pigeon Brewing Company, Oktoberfest. I don't read German. Something. Enjoy cold and often. This is a classic Marzen lager. 6% ABV, so we're looking, we have had quite a few at this point that are 6%. Perfect for filling Das Boot, brewed in beautiful Muskegon, Michigan. I believe that they are actually moving their tap room. I think they're in the process of that. This one, second oldest, I think. I don't remember which one was. Oh, the Founders was also June. This is 28th. I'm sorry, July 28th. Glass. Crack it, put a nose on it. This one has almost no real discernible of aroma. Go ahead and pour it. A bit of one of the lighter ones. I'd say Founders at this point. Founders is probably the lightest one. This is rivaling it. I don't know how I'm keeping track of which one is which because they're in no particular order. Obviously, the Pigeon Founders, they're pretty close. Pretty close. There, Pigeon. It has a bit of a sweeter aroma now. I wasn't really picking up much out of the can, and it's weird, like the way that sometimes I can smell, or I don't know if you smell cans, if I'm unique in that respect, I doubt it, but they give you different aromas, right? So sometimes out of the can you get one kind of aroma, and that's why I like to do that, because you kind of get a little bit of a different perspective sometimes. It smells a little bit on the sweeter side. Go ahead and try it out. Cheers. I really like that one. It's kind of thin on the flavor. The aftertaste is really kind of odd. It really kind of thins out. Like it's a really light, very crisp, very light, very drinkable in the respect that it's a liquid and that you could drink it. 6%, really, I mean, again, it seems like 6% is kind of the norm at this point. I'd probably say the average is right, probably around 6%. There's only one or two of these that are, oh, the Bells and the Oddside are the only two I think that are actually under 6%. But it's just got a really weird Yeah, I don't like that at all. This is the One Well, and I'm a huge One Well fan, right? I've mentioned that a few times. I think the One Well was on my bottom, it's on the bottom end, and I think that Pigeon Hill has overtaken it. This is odd. Here. I'm a huge fan of that one. All right, we're going to set this over to the side. Moving along. So we just did a West Side beer. West Side of Michigan beer. Let's do an East Side. So, one that I'm really kind of curious about is this Griffin Claw Oktoberfest True Fest beer style. It's a really cool design. I really like the kind of interlacing colors and everything, the white, the blue. Just got a nice kind of optical, I'm a big sucker for optical illusions. Oktoberfest True Fest beer style from Griffin Claw out of Birmingham, Michigan. Oktoberfest style lager, brewed and packaged by Griffin Claw Brewing Company in Birmingham, Michigan. This is 5%. Again, okay, so a lot on the lower end. This is, could be mistaken, this is the oldest beer, though. This is July 12th, 2021 that this was packaged. Glass already. I do think it's the coolest label, though. I think so far. I do like this one the best, the label. So if we were just going by the label, I think we have a winner. Yeah, I don't like the way this one smells. It smells a bit kind of not great. I'm trying to be diplomatic about it. So it has a bit of like almost out of the can. Okay, we're gonna say out of the can. If you weren't gonna pour this, it has a bit of like a rubber, like a burnt rubber kind of smell. Like a cheesy, like an old cheese. I don't generally go for old cheese smelling beers. Let's go ahead and pour it. Oh, now we'll pour it. Now we're ready. Very light. This is like, and this is where my ignorance comes into play. I don't know what the difference is between a fest beer and an Oktoberfest. I'm going to assume, I don't like to assume, but you can see the head on this died instantly. Does that have anything to do with it being the oldest? I don't know. But yeah, it's. I think that from what I'm gathering, fest beers are lighter. Marzens are Oktoberfests, and they are darker. That's what I'm going to gather from what I have so far. And the other fest beer that I have is Drafting Table. So when we get to that, we're going to test that theory. But let's smell it out of the glass here. So I don't have as much of that kind of bad aroma that I was getting out of the can. It is a little faint, a little faint kind of rubbery smell. But let's go ahead and try it out. Cheers. It has a pretty good taste, actually. I'm really, again, I'm kind of confused about the fest beer thing because this is called Oktoberfest, but it's a fest style, true fest beer style. Does that mean that Oktoberfest's fest beers are different? Say that they probably are, but this is called Oktoberfest fest beer. Confusing to me. Back to the flavor, very light, very crisp. Has a little bit more of kind of a honey flavor than it does a caramel flavor. If you know the difference between a fest beer and an Oktoberfest, please feel free to make an ass out of me in the comments. But yeah, I mean, it has a lighter flavor to it, more of like a honey, more than like a caramel kind of thing going on. Not really so much malty, maybe a little bit more of that kind of corny kind of flavor that you get out of a lager, like out of Pilsners. I'm going to disqualify this one because it's a fest beer. No, I'm kidding. It's really light. It's probably the lightest. Well, I don't know, the Founders Oktoberfest. The Founders Oktoberfest is very easy drinking, very light, very crisp, but it has more of that kind of richer caramel kind of flavor to it, a little bit more of that malty kind of bite to it, whereas this Griffin Claw Fest beer doesn't really have much of a malty quality. It doesn't really have much of a caramel kind of quality to it. So we went to the east side of the state. We came back to the east side of the state for the Griffin Claw. And that means that we're going to go back to the west side, or at least, yeah, the west side. Grand Rapids is the west side. We're going to go towards this. Okay, so this is going to be a good kind of litmus test, I guess, right? This is Brewery Vivant's Coqtoberfest. This is a fest lager. This was packaged on August 23rd. Doodle-doo. This is a lager brewed to capture the spirit of autumn in Michigan from Brewery Vivant, a beer for celebration, for toasting to the end of summer and to crops harvested and the coming of fall. This is brewed and canned by Brewery Vivant, 925 Cherry Street, Southeast, Suite 1 and 2, Grand Rapids, Michigan. Check them out at breweryvivant.com. They are a certified B Corporation. 1% of sales benefit local charities, and they are part of the Michigan Beer Guild, which I didn't know, but I guess the Marquette UP Festival is tomorrow, so bad timing on my part to probably do a live stream about beer. All the people that would probably be watching, besides obviously you guys, but most, people that'd be interested might be up north. This is 5%. So we're coming close to that 6%. So what's going to be really interesting to me is when I crack this open, if it looks like this or if it looks like this, right? Those are clearly two different colors. Light, dark. I'm thinking it's going to be the lighter end. Let's split it. Crack it. Put a nose on it. Oh, this has... This smells actually a little bit more like the Griffin Claw beer. Go ahead and pour it. I realize I'm split screening and I'm still smelling it. Can't see that. But it's dark. So I'm really confused. The head on this one's really dissipating pretty quickly. It's kind of just like fizzling out. Maybe at the height I was at like a finger and a half. It's dark. So my fest beer whole hypothesis / theory has been just been debunked. Put a nose on it. It does smell better out of the glass than it did out of the can. Has a really light, kind of crispy kind of aroma. Let's go ahead and check it out. Cheers. I'm nodding my head because I'm reading the chat. But yeah, this one has a little bit more. It's almost kind of definitely on the maltier side. Kind of got like a muted caramel flavor as opposed to some of these that have had really strong caramel. That being said, I'm going to pull the two that I still think are in my highest regard to the side because I'm going to totally lose them. Going to lose what the heck I was talking about. But yeah, so let's... This one's got kind of a bit of almost like a... really malty. It's almost got like a bit of a licoricey kind of flavor in it, which is odd because it's different than everything so far. If you haven't been able to tell, I'm probably only going to really get serious about the top two. This would probably, I don't know. I was going to say it might be my number 3, but I think it's my number 4. Don't quote me on all this stuff, but I really am kind of leaning towards the Founders just because at this point, I think drinkability is like a really big, really strong, thing that Founders has going for it. Has that really drinkable kind of quality to it. Not to dismiss the Brewery Vivant Coqtoberfest, but take another drink just so we don't feel like we're dismissing totally. It's different than all the others, and that's a good thing because you don't necessarily want your beer, I'm trying all these different beers. You're probably trying all these different beers on your own, not necessarily right now, but in your own kind of setting. And when you try something and it tastes like really different, like doesn't really have a lot of similarity, doesn't share a lot of similarity. It does, but it just has that one thing that sets it apart. Sometimes that's the thing, like you kind of latch onto and you kind of say, well, that's what actually kind of makes it pretty special. So, but I do think that this would be like a number 4. I think this would be underneath Founders. I still think at this point that we're looking at Bell's, we're looking at Drafting Table, we're looking at Founders as number 3, and then I think we're going to look at Vivant. That's the one. And then number 5 would be the Wolverine Oktoberfest. I think that one really did something that set itself apart as well. So we went to the west side of the state. I'm going to actually, that's what I'm going to do. Bell's, Drafting Table, Founders. Going to be reaching over all this stuff. So Bell's. So this is the top 4 in this order. Number 1, right now, Bell's. Number 2, Drafting Table. Number 3, Founders. Number 4, Brewery Vivant, Coqtoberfest. I just like saying Coqtoberfest. So we're on the west side. We're gonna be 2 more on kind of the east side, right? We're gonna have a Wixom, and we're gonna have a Detroit. I feel like we should do Detroit next. So we're gonna do Brew Detroit. I just got this one yesterday, and the Drafting Table ones came courtesy of John at sombeer.com. So big thanks to John for hooking me up with those 2. And I was just at Brew Detroit yesterday. Brew Detroit is probably, in my opinion, is probably one of the most overlooked breweries in Michigan. I think they do amazing work. Especially for the value, I think that they kill it. What they're able to do at the price point they're able to do it at. Obviously, able to make a really like a ton of beer, right? So that helps. But I think that they just do amazing work for, at the scale that they do it, for the price that they do it. Let's take a look at the label here. We're looking at Brew Detroit, Corktoberfest. That's because they're in Corktown. We got the bear playing the cello, saying Prost. We got the rabbit over here playing the trombone. We got some other kind of animal playing an accordion. This is 1 pint. It really has a nice kind of festive kind of look to it. We turn it to the back here. We have lager, traditional German Marzen with a malty backbone, made in Detroit, Michigan, independent craft beer logo. 5.7% Brew Detroit LLC in Detroit, Michigan. The government warning. We look on the bottom here. Again, this is hard to see because of the light. This is the newest. This is the youngest of the beer that we're trying today. This was canned on September 7th, September 10th. So this is, you go to the tap room. Obviously, you buy it from them. You're going to get it the freshest. We're going to go ahead and crack this, put a nose on it. I just want to kind of highlight this. Randy said here, Brew Detroit is the brewer's brewer. I would wholeheartedly agree on that. We're going to put a nose on the can. I'm going to put a nose on the can here. Yes, put a nose on the can. Very light. I had to get my sniffer right up in there. And I'm still not really getting anything, so it's really kind of light. I didn't try this at the tap room yesterday. I tried a few other ones. As you guys may or may not know, anybody watching this, I do my damnedest to not try these beers before I talk about it on video, because I want you guys to get like my authentic idea or my thoughts on it. So I didn't get to try this one there. I don't know. I know what it looks like, but you got so many brown beers. Hard to say. Caramel, copper colored beers. It's hard to say exactly what the color. I think it's going to be a copper/caramel looking color. Go ahead and pour it. Hey, guess what? Two things. I didn't do the split screen. Number two, it's copper/caramel brownish looking beer. This is another nice looking head here. We got 2 fingers. Might as well do the overhead here while we got it. Bam. That is a nice head, really dense. Get a nose on it. This has a nice malty aroma to it. I wasn't picking it up so much on the can, but you're getting, I'm getting more of a kind of malty, again, caramel. It's kind of a little bit deeper, a little bit richer than some of these others have been. I'm not going to christen it in my top 5 just yet. Get a taste on it. Cheers. That's really malty. Wow. That's got almost like a smoky, malty kind of flavor to it. Tough. Dip into the chat here. Eric Brenner, he says his favorite, North Peaks Oktoberfest. That's one that I couldn't find. That's one that I looked yesterday. I picked up. I kind of rounded up my last couple like kind of round of stuff that I wanted to pick up to talk about today, and that was one. I knew that they did Hail and they did Sparta, and I saw that hit shelves, and I didn't see the Oktoberfest, but I have tried it in years past, and I think it's in those stubby bottles. But I didn't get a chance. I didn't see it. But let's get back to this Corktoberfest here, right? So that's the one we're talking about. That's really, it's almost got this like bitter quality to it. It's got that really smoky, malty kind of backbone to it, as they say on the can, right? But there's almost this kind of hoppiness to it, like a bitter hoppiness to it, that I'm not picking up on any of these others. I'm not going to say that I'm a slappy for Brew Detroit, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in the number 5 slot. So, if you've just joined, if you are unfamiliar with what we got going on so far, I'm 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 in, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That doesn't make it 9. I don't know. I should just count the glasses. That would make right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm 10 in. And the number 1 right now, very close, 1 and 2, is we've got Bell's, we've got Drafting Table, we've got Founders, then we've got Brewery Vivant, Octoberfest, and then we're looking at the Brew Detroit Corktoberfest. Eric mentions Dexter and Traverse City. North Peak is related to Jolly Pumpkin, I believe. Don't quote me. Quote me on anything, ever. Quote me on some stuff. Okay, so we were just on the east side. We're going to go back to central-ish. Not really central, right? Because I'm thinking Mount Pleasant's like central Michigan. But we're going to go with, I think it's going to be a front runner, but I don't know for sure. And that is Old Nation's Oktoberfest. I have a feeling that this is probably going to be in the top. It's going to knock one of these 5 out, and I can tell that the suspense is killing all of you just as much as killing me. So before we talk about that, let's check in one more time with who's watching, what you drinking. Let us all know in the comments, or in the chat, I guess, what you all are drinking. I'm not looking at the chat, Randy. Okay. Yeah, so we're going to talk about Old Nation here. Let's look at the label here. We got Old Nation Oktoberfest German Style Fest Lager. They say this is an Oktoberfest, right? This is 5.7% alcohol by volume out of Williamston, Michigan, 18 IBUs. This is out of Williamston, I already said that, but August 9th when it was brewed. So one of the newer ones. You can see the Old Nation information at oldnationbrewing.com. Turn it to the other side, all that info. They do pretty awesome lagers over there at that Old Nation place. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. They do some good beer. All right. So we're going to crack this one open. I've noticed that Old Nation has changed, you know, the M43 kind of labeling, the Boss Tweed, the Greenstone, the Boxer, Cart Horse, all that good stuff, all had that kind of similar labeling, and now they've moved to this kind of thing. So with the Shandy, with the Pret, with the Oktoberfest, I guess those are all German-style beers. I didn't put that together until just now. They're changing the label type, so I doubt that they'll change M43, but who knows. Okay, we're going to crack this. This is a German-style Fest lager, so it's not necessarily a Marzen, what I can understand. Out of the can, not really much of a discernible aroma. I'm going to split it, pour it, coming out a little bit lighter. So again, this kind of comes down to that whole thing with, who was it that did the Griffin Claw, did the Fest beer, and that was light like this. I believe this is the Fest. This is Oktoberfest from Old Nation. This is a Fest style. Maybe somebody from Old Nation will chime in afterwards and let me know. I don't know what I'm talking about. You know, that wouldn't be much of a surprise. We're looking at about 2 to 2.5 fingers worth of head. If we look at the overhead, we have a nice lighter, actually, one of the lighter heads out of all these. Very dense, very compact. Nice kind of look to that head. Put a nose on the glass. Yeah, it's not really kind of following the whole Oktoberfest, the Marzen style that we've been kind of going through so far. So I'm going to compare apples to oranges. Or I'm sorry, apples to apples. Somebody is getting buzzed. Yeah. All right, let's try it out. Cheers. Yeah, not along the same kind of line with all the Marzens. So I'm going to say that a Fest style, a Fest beer, and a Marzen are different. What's confusing, again, is that some of these say they're Oktoberfest and they're Fest beers. Someone like Draft and Cable has a Fest beer. They have an Oktoberfest. That's two different beers. This, again, is kind of the same deal, right? It says Oktoberfest. This is a German-style Fest lager. This has a little bit more, has a little bit of a peppercorn kind of spicy note to it. It has a little bit more of a sweeter note, a little bit more of a kind of honey note to it, a little bit more of a bready note to it. I think it's a bit of an upset because I thought that this would be in my top 5, but the reason that I'm not putting it in my top 5 is because it's just, it doesn't really follow the whole kind of, I don't want to say agenda, but it doesn't follow the whole kind of style line that all these other beer. I just feel like it's a little bit different of a animal, right? And I've only had a couple out of this whole group, out of the whole 11 so far that I've tried, that I've sampled, because I'm not really drinking these whole things, I'm sampling it, right? Being classy, I'm sampling these. Just doesn't really fit in the mold of the others. Even the Founders that I thought was really light and really easy drinking, and that's what I really liked about it, it still followed that same kind of Marzen, caramel, malty kind of flavor profile. So that's kind of why this one is, that's why I'm going to set it out a little bit aside. It seems like it's a bit more of like a Vienna style, like almost like a Pilsner or something. It doesn't really seem to me a mess. Things. It doesn't really seem to me like it's so much of that kind of Marzen style. I really honestly, I have 2 left. I know I said I had 12, but I actually have 13. I was in the center of the state, right? The southern center of the state. Williamston's kind of in the, I mean, it's more, I guess it's on the east side. We're going to go the extreme west side. This is the one that I didn't mention in any of my mentionings about anything. I'm going to bring this one out. Let me look what I got here. Okay, so I got my Drafting Table Fest beer, but the one that I didn't talk about is the Tapistry Oktoberfest. So this is Oktoberfest, a German-style Marzen ale from Tapistry Brewing. They are out of, I believe they're out of Bridgman. Not. See, I'm sure it's going to stay on here. I was right. Bridgman, Michigan, 49106. This says, combining artistry and chemistry, Oktoberfest is a perfectly balanced combination of biscuit-like malt aroma, copper color, and clean hop bitterness. Grab a Stein, your Lederhosen, or Dirndl, and celebrate. Tapistrybrewing.com. This is 1 pint. This was one of the older ones, July 22nd, 2021. What is the ABV on this? Mystery. Absolute mystery. All right, the problem is I have 2 beers left, but I only have 1 similar glass. So I'm gonna have to put my last drafting table in some other kind of crazy glass. And that confuses me now because I think I've lost the order of my beers. Let's put a nose on the can here. We're gonna move along. The nose, really kind of bready. Not getting much of a biscuity. I'm not getting much of like that kind of malty aroma, but let's go ahead and pour this. Okay, this is dark like we would expect. I really don't know what to expect anymore, to be honest with you. The way that these things have been going. It's a little bit of a darker kind of look to it. We hold it up. It's a little bit murkier than what we've seen so far. A lot of these have been very clear, very filtered, dark but filtered. Definitely getting a biscuity kind of aroma out of it. A little bit of a caramel, but not a whole lot. Actually, the caramel kind of pushes up a little bit more on the nose out of the glass. But let's try it out. Cheers. This one's actually pretty interesting. It has it's got a little bit more of a vibrant kind of sweet flavor to it. It has a lot of that caramel kind of flavor to it. Not caramel, kinda. It has a caramel flavor to it. It has definitely has that biscuity flavor on the tail end, on the finish. It kind of doesn't really have like a dry finish. It has more of a wet finish. Obviously, it's a liquid. But it's hard to kind of place. It's got a nice, clean kind of deal going on, but the aftertaste being a little bit breadier, kind of pushing me away a little bit. And they're being very mysterious about this ABV. I'm going to say it's probably 6%, right around there. Just because that's not because I have some kind of like, alcohol sensor in my mouth, but I'm going to say that it's probably, if we're going to go with the law of averages, it's probably right around 6. Because it's number 6, it's got like, I'm going to say it's 6%. I'm going to put it at number 6. This is like my kind of, wasn't going to really include it, and wasn't going to include a top 6. So let's do a rundown before we get to this last drafting table. And once I get to that drafting table one, it's going to be pretty quick. We're going to run down these pretty quick. The disadvantage that some of these earlier ones have are that they've warmed up. So they're very different than they were when I tried them originally, when they were all kind of around the same temperature. So we have Bell's Oktoberfest is number 1 right now. We have drafting table Fest beer. Oh no, Oktoberfest. I could kill it right now. I don't even have to do the Fest beer, right? That's a totally different thing, and I'd be opening it, and I might not even be including it. So we have Bell's Oktoberfest. We have drafting table Oktoberfest. We have Founders lighter. Founders Oktoberfest. Then we have the Wolverine Oktoberfest. Then we have Coqtoberfest. And then we have Tapistry's Oktoberfest. All right, so you know what? I'm going to throw caution to the wind. I'm going to use one last glass. We're going to open this Fest beer from drafting table. Do the overhead one more time. We're going to take a look at it. Very confused. Which is probably showing. This is Fest beer lager from drafting table in Wixom, Michigan. You can find out more about them at draftingtablebeer.com. Draft on at 49438 Pontiac Trail in Wixom, Michigan. Brewed and canned by Drafting Table Brewing Company. Brewed for the early autumn festival season. Fest beer is a golden colored lager. There we go. Brewed with Vienna, Pilsner, and Munich malts. It has a medium malt presence accompanied by a subtle hop character. As I mentioned before, they have the bitterness scale, 5.3% alcohol by volume. You should enjoy it from a big Stein-style mug. I'm not going to include this. I'm not going to open this because reading and seeing that it is a Vienna, a golden lager, I just kind of feel like I'm going to open it and I'm going to say, well, it doesn't really fit into the kind of mold that the rest of these things go on. And that means one less glass that I have to clean. So I'm not going to do this one. And that makes sense. Like, why would I include 2 from drafting table? Why would I? Yeah, like Randy says, after the top 5, does it even matter anyways? I don't know. Why am I still? You guys didn't mention that. Oh, crud, look at that. After the top 5, does it even matter? It doesn't really matter. Okay, so let's just do the top 5. Let's. Well, but Randy, we have a top 6. Be contrarian about something. All right, so this is where we stand. Already overtime. Said this was only going to be an hour. But for you guys, sacrifice yourself. All right, so what we have right now is we have Bell's Drafting Table Founders. Now this is where I have to think about it. Number 4. What did I say number 4 was? Oh, Oktoberfest from Wolverine, Coqtoberfest, Tapistry. So let's put these Bell's drafting table. It was number 3. Founders, all the way up here. What a mess. We have Wolverine, Coqtoberfest, partially because I just enjoy saying Coqtoberfest, and Tapistry Oktoberfest. Get that out of here. I don't know what you are. Gotta go away. All right, so these are the top 6 right now. So this is going to be a lightning round, speed round. Going to do one more. What you drinking? I know that Randy's still drinking Wobble Pop, which is had, or at least he was last time. We got Eric says if you gotta go to Old Nation. Yeah, Old Nation is awesome. I've been there a lot. I like that place a lot. They have awesome food and great beer. They got a lot of really great stuff that they don't have out in stores, and I appreciate that. And then we have Yeah, so after the top 5, Randy says doesn't matter. It kind of, yeah, I mean, we got the top 6, right? All right, so we got Bell's. I'm going to pour a little bit more into this Bell's because I'm hoping that maybe that the bottle inflated it a little bit, and then I'm just going to run through these. I'm going to do like I said, it's going to be a lightning round. It's going to be very quick, fast and furious. You can call me Vin Diesel. So let's go ahead and try this out. We got Bell's. Light, crisp, caramel, a little bit of a maltiness. Got drafting table. This might be, I think this is going to be the biggest kind of shift. Excuse me. The drafting table is a little bit more on the sweeter end, so that's kind of why I'm going towards moving up the drafting table to number 1. Because I like the fact that it has that bit of a sweetness to it. I think the Bell's is definitely, like I said, it makes me, and I said this right off the bat, it makes me think of fall. It has kind of that fall kind of feel to it. It's something that, you know, just the flavors that are in there, the really kind of nice deep caramel, the deep maltiness. Like I said, as it warmed up, it gets almost like a toffee kind of flavor to it as well. So I feel like I want to move to the drafting table being number 1. Because I like that smokiness. It has a little bit of a smokiness to it. It has a little bit of a sweeter kind of thing going on here. I'm going to do it. I'm going to be decisive. I'm going to move drafting table up to number 1. Got Bell's number 2. Founders, I don't think is really going to budge because I like that it's very drinkable. I like that it's very smooth. I like that it's very kind of it's not, you know, it's not really, I don't want to say offensive, but it's not really strong in any category, but it's really solid. You know, it's a really solid number 3. It really kind of holds the ranking in place. As it warmed, it's kind of gotten a little bit more on the bitter end, but I think that the Founders Oktoberfest is going to be a solid number 3. I know this looks really crowded. And then we're going to move on to the Wolverine. This is 6.2% ABV. Bear with me. Bell's number 2, Wolverine number 4. I am almost tempted to move Bell's to number 4. Just walking you through the thought process. It's held on so long at the top of this whole kind of ranking thing, but I just feel like I'm going to keep it at 2. But it's like honorable mention number 2, but still number 4. If that makes any sense. Is going to be the Wolverine. I think Founders, I can't really see how just kind of light, drinkable, smooth the Founders Oktoberfest is. I don't think it can budge. I think it has to be either 3 or 4, and I like it at number 3 because it's a little bit different. And I think Wolverine is number 4 because it's very similar to Bell's. Like when I was having it before, when it was cooler, I didn't really feel like it was really all that similar. But drinking it like one after another like that, it's really tough to tell any real discernible difference between the Bells and the Wolverine. I feel like it'd be really kind of doing the Founders a disservice for moving it down and putting these two that are so similar next to each other. It just seems kind of weird to me. So I think right now, I think we're gonna do drafting table number 1, Bells number 2. I don't see these two kind of moving up this far, leapfrogging anything. I don't see how Coqtoberfest, even though I love the name, how Coqtoberfest could go above Wolverine being so similar. And then Tapistry, like, kind of leapfrogging anybody, but we're just, going to take a drink. I still like it at number 5. Still like Octoberfest at number 5, and I think Tapistry. Yeah, I think that's the right decision. I think Tapistry should be in the conversation. I think it's like an honor. I think it's more of like an honorable mention. So, talk about these, right? So let's talk about the final kind of thing, right? So the final ranking, the official Draft Therapy Oktoberfest rankings, power rankings. Get this other stuff out of the way. Let's make a clear picture here so that we can see how it all lines up without anything else being in the way. These guys, we got to move these guys out of here. All right. Out of here. All right, get out of here. Scram. All right, so, and what am I seeing in the edge here? This guy, you got to get out of here too. Skedaddle. Guy. Oddside. Bye-bye. At this point, if I had to like look at these and see which one was which, I probably couldn't tell you out of the 6 that didn't make it. But the thing that's important is 6 that did make it, right? So we're going to say what the official end-all be-all for 2021 Oktoberfest beers in order. Yeah, in order. I was going to say reverse order and then go. Yeah, we're going to build some suspense because you haven't been watching this whole time and you have no clue what I've talked about, right? Of course. Number 6, Tapistry Brewing out of Bridgman, Michigan. We give Oktoberfest the German-style Marzen Ale, number 6. Okay? And then Brewery Vivant's Coqtoberfest Fest Lager at 5.8% is number 5. At number 4, Wolverine Brewing Company. Brewing Company? Yes, it is. Wolverine State Brewing Company at 6.2%. Is it 6.2? It is 6.2%. Number 4. Number 3, Founders. Well, I mean, what more can you say? Founders Oktoberfest, German-style Marzen, number 2. Number 3. Jeez, screwing this all up. Founders Oktoberfest, German-style Marzen, do-over, number 3. Number 2, Bell's Oktoberfest Marzen-style Lager, 5.5%. And your winner, your 2021 Oktoberfest champion is Drafting Table Brewing Company out of Wixom, Michigan. 6.5% alcohol by volume. Oktoberfest Marzen. Exciting stuff, folks. So, yeah, with that all being said, if I had like, I know that the rankings, I'm going to shoot myself in the foot here. If I had to drink like an all day, like if I had an all day time to drink Oktoberfest, if I was, at an Oktoberfest deal and I had just, I can only pick one beer. I think the smoothest, the easiest drinking, least offensive, just, hey, let's drink some beer, is probably the Founders. But I think based on taste and based on just everything, the overall winner would be Drafting Table. And I think, the Bell's kind of lines up right behind the Drafting Table. So that's kind of why I picked, why I went that way, why I picked that way. Again, if I was just drinking for taste, I would definitely go the Drafting Table. Then I would go the Bell's. And then I would go in the order that it is. But if I was just drinking pure, just to drink, have a nice kind of unoffensive, smooth, nice kind of beer to drink all day, I would go with the Founders Oktoberfest. So while the Founders Oktoberfest is in the number 3 slot with this, I think it's just, yeah, it's just, it's the Founders one's just inoffensive. It's just straight up easy drink all day kind of deal. So I'm going to visit the chat here. All right, so we're going to look at the chat here. I'm just going to go through. Carlos says Carlos is affirming what I've said. That's what I like to see, people who agree with what I say. Carlos says drafting table does great solid beer. Yes, they do. I do really enjoy what drafting table does. I think they do a lot of stuff just really well. They're always solid. When I go to the tap room, they just always have solid stuff. Commerce Ozzy says he lives about 5 miles. Commerce Ozzy, you need to check them out. Like I said, they just do solid. They don't have food, so if you're looking for food, like I think they do food trucks and stuff on occasion. But yeah, definitely hit them up. He also says 6.5 is the same as great. Oh, I don't know. I don't know if that's a coincidence. That might be serendipity. And then Randy hit the nail on the head. I think that the drafting table will be the hardest to find. So if you're looking for something off the shelf, as maybe anticlimactic as the whole thing has been, I think that the Bell's one, again, is the one that if you're looking just for straight up, like, I'm looking for an Oktoberfest to drink, I think the Bell's one's going to be the tastiest, but I think that if you're looking for the one that's going to get the widest distribution, again, I think the Bell's one's going to be the tastiest. It's going to be that kind of like catch-all, and again, like in years past, and I don't think I did one last year, but 2019 and 2018, I don't think, if you look back at my videos, I don't think Bell's, it finished, I think I only did 6 beers, right? So of course it finished in the top 6, but I think as tastes evolve and you kind of taste a lot of stuff and you get kind of like more, for me personally, like getting more, being able to try other things, you kind of get exposed to other, maybe appreciate different things after a while. I do think that the Bell's one, the Bell's Oktoberfest, it would be my pick for like kind of the mass availability. And then Founders would be next. Again, they're like 2 different audiences, right? So I think that the Bell's is the best flavor. If we were just going to pick the top, like the easiest ones to get, I think the Bell's has the, wow, it's a lot of, I don't know if you even heard that, but I think the Bell's is like the tastiest. It's the one that I would like want to sip and sit with, but I think the Founders one is the one that I would want to ease of the whole thing. So yeah, I appreciate all you guys kind of checking me out, checking out what's going on. I'm not going to do like the bottom because I don't find that to be really constructive. I think that's kind of counterproductive. But yeah, so I'm going to be doing some stuff with some local places coming up. I'm going to be doing a live stream in a couple weeks at a brewery. So I'll be putting that up. If you're looking forward, looking for something to watch, then it'll be a Friday. It'll be probably a little bit earlier. Not really willing to say where it is yet, but I'll be doing a live stream there. I have a plan on doing a live stream at another place in the next couple weeks on Friday. So if you're looking for something to watch, something to drink some beers and kind of see what's going on, yeah, check me out. I'll post about that. I'll put in the discussion. I probably should have done that to kind of let you guys know that I was doing it, instead of just putting it as a scheduled deal. But yeah, so just to kind of wrap it up, drafting table, Oktoberfest number 1, Bell's Oktoberfest number 2, Founders Oktoberfest number 3, Wolverine State Brewing Company in Ann Arbor is number 4, Brewery Vivant out of Grand Rapids, Coqtoberfest is number 5, and Tapistry Brewing is the honorable mention. Their Oktoberfest out of Bridgman, Michigan. If you see these guys on shelves, if you're looking for Oktoberfest, if you find what I say to be something kind of similar to what you think, then I think that's what you should be looking out for. I appreciate all you guys watching. Thanks for all the comments. Thanks for all the chats, all the chatting. Thanks for all the support. Even just watching this is a huge help. It kind of is motivation to, to make more of these videos. I especially want to do, reading the chat, I especially want to thank my Patreons, my patrons on Patreon, executive producers, yeah, thanks you guys. It's really kind of, it lets me know that you guys are watching and that you appreciate it. And I appreciate the producers, the people that just leave the, the tip jar kind of stuff. doing that, you get early access, you get some Discord kind of stuff. I know the Discord hasn't been super active, but Randy mentions, when are we going to do a drinking Zoom? That's what the Discord's for. So join on the Discord. I would be more than happy to do any kind of Discord kind of drinking stuff, and we can just do a big conference call. If you're interested in finding out more about that, you can find out about that at patreon.drafttherapy.com. That'll push you right along to my Patreon. Not trying to be like money grubbing, just trying to service the people that are, want to toss some a couple dollars my way. I definitely appreciate it. It helps kind of, mitigate the cost of doing stuff like this. So, like I said, got some live streams coming up soon in the next couple weeks. Keep an eye on the YouTube page for that. I'll put it in the discussion, so you actually know about it ahead of time. And yeah, I got a couple things lined up, and got some other news coming up pretty soon. Be posting to the Patreon blog for that. And yeah, so until next time, I'm Sean from Draft Therapy. Thanks for stopping by. Remember, drink craft beer. That's what this is all about, kind of promoting Michigan craft beer. Support your local breweries wherever you are, wherever they are. If you're in California, if you're in New York, Maine, if you're in Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Michigan, Illinois, Wisconsin, any of those places, support your local breweries. Especially right now, we feel like we're always seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, but the light at the end of the tunnel seems like it gets farther away all the time. And until next time, grab my drafting table Oktoberfest. Don't forget to treat yourself. A little draft therapy. Thanks for stopping by. You guys around? Hopefully you enjoy the content. Let me know. Find my cursor here. Cheers. Later.